This is IBM Museum. In this video, I'm going to once again cover the creation of those reference, starter, and option diskettes. This is a very simplistic scenario, and it's been the long-standing where those diskette images are in an executable format, but going through and finding that image online, downloading it to your system, and running it to create the diskette. So I'm going to go through and I'll bring up the system that we're going to use. This 32-bit Windows XP system with the built-in diskette drive. That was the primary reason I got this system going. I'm going to be looking up in this video as well, just to kind of see it, because I've got it on the big screen above me here. But so you've just found on a curb a IBM PS2 system. You've determined what the system is, and this is going through from a simplistic angle that the diskette drive is going to work on it, that you've gone through and put a new battery or modified that Dallas module or got a replacement for that Dallas module, and you have the system ready to go and configure it. So this is going to be the go-to site that you're to find that the diskette that you need, be it a reference diskette, be it the star diskette for those models below PS2 Model 50, or the option diskette for if you have some of the adapters on the system that can require an option diskette, or even that you need a particular ADF. That adapter doesn't have the ADF on the reference diskette. It doesn't have its own separate option diskette, but you can determine what the card is, what you're looking for to get that adapter. And it's a little bit of a recognition of those adapters as well for those ADFs. I will undoubtedly cover a portion of that as well, and even the more complex examples if you have a 64-bit system that is not able to go through and create the diskette image from that executable file. So this website, of course, as you can read, is ardent-tool.com, ARDENT-TOOL.com. And once on that site, you can go through. There is some jumps listed at the top of the page to go down to, it scrolls through this page to put you in that section to quickly find. And the more common thing would be is what PS2 model you have, and so you can go through and click on this IBM system or scroll down through this page to get into where there's a link for the PS2 family, and these are listed by model. You have the desktop and tower systems, and the portable systems listed down below. Now, there are even some web pages that have images composed on that to be able to visually recognize those PS2s as well. I can go through a video if needed, or you just go onto the site to look over that page. And by all means, give comments on the video if you'd like to see a separate video for that section as well. Now, I'm wanting to create a diskette for the PS2 Model 65SX. This is a system that I'm going to be bringing up on the bench and replacing the planer in a future video. And so I'm wanting to get that reference diskette. The 65SX is part of the paired models that the reference diskette covers that model 55SX as well as the 65SX. So once I've drilled into those tower systems of the Model 60, the Model 65SX, and Model 80 that are all in that common tower case, I'm going to click on the 65SX link. Now, there's not any planar diagram or anything like that as of yet. We've got pictures that I've gone through and supplied for being able to see what that planar looks like. But I'm interested in the reference diskette in this case, and that's marked as, RF 5565A.exe to tell what it is. Now, this is where it is an executable program that, will run on a 32-bit operating system from the command prompt to extract that diskette image. If you have a 64-bit system, there are alternative methods to extracting that diskette. I'll cover those in a later video. I'm wanting to kind of keep the focus on here of how this process has existed for a couple decades now with the advent of the internet and the compilation that's been done for these reference diskettes online to be able to quickly find the information that you need to on the PS2 models. So I'm going to go through and click on that to save the file. And, modern operating systems can prevent you. The browsers on there can prevent you from downloading those executable programs as well. So that's why the steps have been taken to put those in image formats and some other things to make them a little bit easier or zip them up. And I've got that downloaded now in my download directory. And I want to go through and just bring this over to a directory I have created. And I have this even on the C partition of this system, and that's even that MS-DOS partition that I created. So I could even I wouldn't even have to run Windows XP. I could just go into this directory from the dual boot system going into the MS-DOS operating system that I also have loaded on the system to be able to run this. Now, you don't want to run this from Windows. You want to bring up the command prompt to be able to run this. And my cursor jumps around a little bit with this trackball, the way I've got it set up on the system. Okay, so there's our command prompt. We're going to do a directory listing just to see what we have there. And we've got that file. So I do have, let me show our system again. And I do have a diskette already loaded into the drive. And it doesn't have to be a blank diskette. I mean, if it's a functioning diskette, but if you have contents on that diskette, it's going to overwrite them. It's going to create that reference diskette image. So, okay. But from the command prompt, we type that the name of the executable program to run it. Okay. And it gives us the presentation of going through and stepping through the instructions of how to extract this diskette image. Okay. And this file is created on July 1st, 1996. And so we're going to press enter. Gives us a standard license agreement. Okay. License revision back in 1991. Getting to be almost 30 years ago now. Okay, and as we go through and press enter each time, it's going to advance us through. And I'm sure all of you are very interested in reading every little step to these process. And it does explain a little bit for the ADFs and things like that. Okay. And certainly you can pause the video if you want to read portions of this. Okay. And it beeps and tells us if we want to, if we agree, we're going to press Y and then press enter, or type Y and then press enter. So Y, enter. Okay. Insert a blank high-density diskette into drive A. Enter to extract or escape to exit. Okay, and as I said, we already have our diskette in there, but it's a warning. If you didn't have a diskette already inserted, to insert it at this point. Okay. And I can go through and it's got that diskette access light on. Now, once you go through and compile these diskettes, go through and extract the image to the diskette, you don't normally want to view these from within Windows. You don't want to look through the contents. That can cause that diskette to be corrupted. And there are utilities to correct that, to make it a working bootable reference diskette again. But just that practice of going through and viewing from Windows can overwrite some of the areas that can go through and mess you up. And the thought is, even if on this system, once I had the diskette created and there was additional ADFs that I needed to put on the system, I can also, even from Windows, I could go through and bring up that dialog box of once I've downloaded those files to send that file to the A drive. Okay, so if we wanted to make another reference diskette of the same exact type, we could press Y and go through the same sequence. If we do any other key, it goes through and returns us to that referenced diskette directory that it finishes executing the program. So I'm going to minimize that. Let's go through. Now, on this, let's see. And I'm trying to think if I've got. So I went through to this page and clicked on that reference diskette to download it. Now, I went through and drilled down to the model that I had is one method that I could do here. Now, there are other links from this Ardent Tool page. If we back out to the main directory, and I could even have clicked on the link to go back to the main page. It's down at the bottom to to take me there. But there's also links from, like a jump link from the software and drivers to take you down to where this is a directory that contains a listing of all those different systems. It goes through explaining what a reference diskette can be, what a starter diskette, diagnostic diskettes, the option diskettes, and even the images for upgrading some of the models that have that flash BIOS. So in this instance, it's scrolling down through until we would locate the particular model and it numerically indexed. Okay. And there we have the Model 65 SX. And I'm trying to see, let me, okay. So that is actually in a zip format. That likely has the image file format for extraction also on a 64-bit system. I mean, you can extract and use like a program like WinImage for the older version, and there's some other programs, and I'll demonstrate those with the 64-bit extraction process in a later video. But this is a different, and we can go through and we can download the same way. Okay, and we're going to save that. And we could even go through and look at that format just to kind of see how that is in that compressed package of a zip file. Now, I also wanted to show, and I did have my dock off here to the side. I'm trying to think if I went through, and I think I've downloaded this. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, and here we get through to where, at the end of the reference diskette, then we start having the adapters that have those option diskettes and even particular files, particular adapters, and the firmware updates, to update the systems. And then there's that ref stamp utility that I talk about. If you mess up a reference diskette, as a way to restore that diskette to functionality. And then we have a link at the very bottom of that of download everything. So by that zipped up compressed file that's about 53 megabyte of information, that you have all of those images in a compressed format that you can expand on your local system to be able to where you wouldn't even have to go online. You have a local copy of all that. Now, let's look. I want to go through, and that zipped file that we have, and this is Windows XP, so it's able to go through and view the contents and see this is in an image format. Yeah. And I have WinImage loaded on this system, so it shows, that I could use that to extract that image. It's not an executable program. Excuse me, I have to do my cough button here. These things happen. Okay. So, and I'll be demonstrating, from those image format to extracting in that format in a later video. Okay, let's just minimize that. Okay, the other area I wanted to show to the Ardent Tool page is that we have the area of the, and I'd shown doing the extracting the reference diskettes from the NCR systems as well. There are some different non-IBM brands that they have their own area for looking at the information. And in particular, if you have the PS2 model, you want to look at that particular page to get all sorts of information, all the insight that has been compiled over the last couple decades by that comp.sys.ibm.ps2.hardware news group. So we have a section for the microchannel adapters, and there's listings even to have those in numerical order, and in some cases, let's just drill down. I mean, I'm just going live here. Okay. Now, in some instances, those have a picture to them. You could go through and you could search for a particular adapter description file that you needed, or even, to be able to click on a link, being able to see a picture of what that adapter looks like. Or there's an index here as well, also going through for finding the adapter this way. Let's see, select out a good, and we see the diagram of the adapter, just all the information. I mean, this is a wonderful level of detail that has been compiled on these models. Okay. And if you need the ADF for that, it's a process of going through and saving that file. That saves it over to my downloads directory. And I could go through from here and even just, as long as I don't have to rename the file or anything else, and you'll have notes on there if that's the case. But this is the straight ADF file, and I could go through and I could right click on it, since I still have the diskette in the drive, and send that over to my diskette drive as well. So the way that I have the system set up, this is what my goal was with this system, to have it where it's online, able to go online to these pages and grab that reference diskette image or ADF that I needed to put over to a diskette. And okay, so that's the basics of a 32-bit system here, making that reference diskette. And of course, I should, I would go through and I would stick on a label onto this once I have it complete to tell me what it is. And I need to go through and order some more diskettes and actually get a diskette file of these things here locally for myself as well. But that is the process. And if you have any questions at all, leave them in a comment. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If so, click on that like button. And if you haven't done already, please subscribe to my channel. Promote the channel to your friends so we can have more subscribers as well. But that's all I have for now. This is IBM Museum. Thank you.